Who are these people?
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Rivera, and since you see me by myself, that means that you are watching Angel in the Afternoon. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. Hope everyone, so now it's kind of surprising, I'm sure, because today is Tuesday. But this time around, we will be talking. The reason why I'm going live today is because we will be talking about Venezuela and the whole situation that's going on there. So I hope everybody's having a good week, and I'll be giving you guys my opinion on this in a moment. Let me just get myself situated here, and then we'll get started. I will be with you guys for the next hour to 90 minutes. And don't forget to make sure you guys check out American Tradition. That is tonight with Jesse Jet and Indy. That'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. So check that out. Just getting the shameless plugs out of the way. Then we will be then Friday I'll be back for Angel in the Afternoon. I'll be back with Angel in the Afternoon Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern as usual. So this is just a special episode here today because I just this is just a special episode here because because it needs to be discussed today because I don't want to wait till Friday and then after that it's just out of the way by now. So today we'll be talking about Venezuela and other stuff. So look forward to that. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe to the channels. Very important. And let's see. So yeah, today, as everybody knows, on Monday, Nicolas Maduro was reelected as president of Venezuela for another term, and yeah, I mean it's been a long, long time. So make sure you please like, and we'll be getting started now. Nicolas Maduro was reelected president of Venezuela on Saturday or Sunday, sorry, with 51% of the vote. So after all this, and then as soon as that happens, immediately here comes a poll. Here comes a alleged exit poll that claims that the opposition to Nicolas Maduro won 70+% of the vote, which is insane. First off, before we even get to that, that is like so implausible, so ridiculous that I can't believe that Emerson thought that people would take this seriously. Venezuela has been run by the Chavistas, which is what Hugo Chavez and their supporters called themselves for 25 years now, and they've been really popular. So in other words, for all of a sudden randomly to go from being extremely popular to go from that to losing by 40 points or 50 points or whatever, if they're going to lose, they're going to lose a really close election. It's just not plausible. It's absolutely not plausible that they somehow managed to do that. Uh, yes, a very special one indeed. Thank you very much for joining us, Steph. Make sure you like. Please give me a like because this is a special episode. So I need as many likes as I can get. So to me, that Emerson poll is just ridiculously improper. Not improper, but it's ridiculously just implausible. That it's like, really, you sent me to believe that that the capitalists, the opposition won by like 40 points. It's just absurd. So let's get started with this. Thank you for the like. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. This is the one. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. So this is an article from Geopolitical Economy written by Ben Norton. So this is rather, this article I found was pretty good. So I'm just going to read through this part. Venezuela's opposition claimed that it won the July 28th election by accusing. If I can make this bigger, that'd be nice. I mean, you can barely see it there. Venezuela's opposition claimed that it won the July 28th election, accusing President Nicolas Maduro of fraud. The supposed evidence that the Venezuelan opposition leaders and their allies have cited to justify his claim is an exit poll produced by a firm that is closely linked to the U.S. government and does work for U.S. state propaganda outlets that were funded by the CIA, of course. A New Jersey-based company called Edison Research published an exit poll on the day of the election, projecting that right-wing candidate Edmundo González Urrieta would win the election with 65% of the vote compared to Maduro's 31%. Now, this is, like I talked about at the beginning, this is like beyond absurd. And these numbers are just, like, really, I mean, you go from being extremely popular for 25 years to all of a sudden just so like, oh yeah, you're going to lose by like nearly 40 points. Ridiculous. The poll was cited by Venezuela's far-right U.S.-backed opposition leader Leopoldo Lopez, as well as billionaire oligarch Elon Musk, when Western media outlets like the Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, and Reuters. So I want to take a look at the poll itself. Here we go. Oops, it's too big. I think that should be good. Yep, here we go. Edison Research conducts exit poll in Venezuela. So let's read this. Edison Research exit poll projects opposition candidate Edmundo González will defeat Nicolas Maduro in landslide to become the next president of Venezuela. An exit poll conducted today by Edison Research for the Venezuelan presidential election projects that the opposition candidate Edmundo López Urrieta of the unitary platform will easily win the 2024 presidential election. The following are Edison's preliminary estimates: 65-31. One for the other candidates, pretty much. So vote by sex and age, 64% of men went for Edmundo González. This is all allegedly, because I'm not buying this at all. 65% women went for Edmundo's. 18 to 29-year-olds, 74% went for the capitalist. Yeah, I'm gonna buy that. At least here in the U.S., most young people are not capitalists. They're anti-capitalists. They can't stand the system as it is. I remember when I was that age, and to this day, even there's no way capitalism. Fuck the capitalists. Age 30, 39, 69%. Age 44, So he crushed them allegedly, which is absurd. So now this is more ridiculous. Urban 68-28, suburban. I'm not surprised that suburban be 64-30. That is entirely plausible. And rural 60-36, but the urban part, please. And but I want you guys to see how excited they are. This exit polling organization is. Our exit poll projects a resounding victory for Edmundo González. The opposition candidate had broad support among nearly all demographic backgrounds, said Edison Executive Vice President Rob Farbin. Nicolas Maduro not only trails by huge margins among core opposition groups like younger and urban voters, he's also behind by double digits in what has been the core PSUV constituency. voters age 60 and up, and rural voters. So PSUV is the party that Nicolas Maduro belongs to. So the exit poll was conducted nationwide with preliminary data from 6,846 voters interviewed at 100 polling stations. The voting locations in the exit poll are a stratified probability sample of the voting population of Venezuela. Within each voting location, interviewers approached every ninth voter, I guess, because there's a typo here. NTH. I'm assuming that means every ninth voter, as he or she exited the voting location. On average, 68 voters completed a questionnaire at each voting location. The margin of error in these estimates are 2%, and the response rate was 70%. So this is like the methodology of the poll, of the exit poll. So, yeah, I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this at all. I would not be surprised if it turned out that the CIA was behind this. Like they asked Edison to put out this fake exit poll and act like, oh yeah, I mean, definitely the capitalist, the one that will be our puppet, he definitely won, and he definitely won by over 30 points. Trust us. That's what I think happened here. It's just absolutely absurd to think that not only did Maduro lose, but he lost by crushing margins. Not going to happen. Not in a million years. If he's really going to lose, it'd be an extremely close election. So, let's get back to this. Just bear with me 1 second here while I get my next thing up. Here we go. All right, let's go back to the article. Many polling firms inside Venezuela are run by opposition figures and are notorious for their political bias. The most respectable independent firm in the country is the pollster Hintolesis, which estimated in its exit poll Maduro got 54.6% of the vote compared to 42.8% for Gonzalez. So there's a tweet here, in fact, showing this. Sorry, let's make this a bit bigger. All right, so presidential elections, July 28th. Hinterlaces exit poll, 12 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. 12 p.m. in the afternoon. 12 p.m. in the afternoon. Sorry. Projected participation, 61.5%. Nicolas Maduro got 54.57% of the vote, and Mundo Gonzalez got 42.82% of the vote, and other candidates combined were 2.61%. So, yeah, even this is like the most like unbiased polling organization in Venezuela, but they have Maduro winning 54.5% of the vote. So there's no chance. I mean, that Edison poll, there's no way it can be correct. I mean, how the hell do you expect to believe? Let's go back. Go back again. All right, there we go. So how the hell do you expect anyone to believe this nonsense? Because I don't. So ultimately, even though the interlaces had Maduro winning 54.6% of the vote, ultimately, Venezuela's National Electoral Council, CNE, ultimately reported Maduro won the election with 51.2% of the vote, where Gonzalez received 44.2% of the vote, and 8 other opposition candidates got 4.6% combined. These results were close to what Hinterlaces projected, but very far off from what Edison Research claimed. So yeah, even with the exit poll, they were off by like 3 points. Maduro got 3 points less than what Hinterlaces even claimed that Maduro got. So yeah, with that, the whole point of that Edison research, that Edison exit poll, was to give the opposition and to give the U.S. and all its vassal states an excuse to deny the election results and try to do some sort of coup against Nicolas Maduro and act like he's not the president. We already have other We already have opposition leaders like Leopoldo Lopez and what's the other dude's name? The fake president, the interim president. I forgot his name right now, but yeah, I have a tweet with him later, so that we'll get to that a little later. But that dude and let's see, the U.S. State Department, which has backed numerous coup attempts in Venezuela, refused to recognize Maduro's victory. Shocking. Every time Maduro's won a re-election bid, the U.S. State Department always refuses to recognize the results with some sort of excuse. This time is the Edison exit poll. Secretary of State Antony Blinken called the results into question. On the other hand, independent electoral observers said that the vote was free and fair. Monitors from the U.S. National Lawyers Guild, I'm going to show you this directly. Okay. Press release. The National Lawyers Guild electoral observers praised fairness, transparency of Venezuelan election process, condemned the U.S.-backed opposition refusal to accept the outcome of democratic election. This is the press release. The National Lawyers Guild electoral observers praised fairness, transparency of the Venezuelan election process, condemned the U.S.-backed opposition refusal to accept the outcome of democratic election. So these are the people who actually wrote this. Delegation of 5. So this is quite long, but I'm just going to read some of it. The delegation of 5 election observers in the National Lawyers Guild monitored the presidential elections in Venezuela that took place on July 28, 2024. The delegation observed a transparent, fair voting process with scrupulous attention to legitimacy, access to the polls, and pluralism. Despite the soundness of the electoral process, the U.S.-backed opposition, with support from an anti-Maduro Western press, has refused to accept the results, undermining the stability of Venezuela's democracy. The president of the Consejo Nacional Electoral, Elvis Amoroso, called upon the Attorney General to investigate the attacks on the electoral transmission system. The delegation strongly condemned these attacks on the electoral system, as well as the role of the U.S. in undermining the democratic process. The official election results were announced shortly after 12 a.m. on July 29th. President Nicolas Maduro has been re-elected with 51.2% share of the vote. His leading challenger, Edmundo González Urrieta, took 44.2% of the vote, with turnout approximately 59% throughout the country, with a voting electorate over 21.3 million people. That's better than what the U.S. does. Most elections, the U.S. can barely eke out 50% of the country to come out to vote on election day. The delegation visited several polling locations in Caracas and La Guadia and shared notes and information with the 910 electoral observers present from 95 countries and many organizations, including the Carter Center, the United Nations, the African Union, the Latin American Council of Electoral Experts. The Venezuelan elections today were not only fair and transparent, but also represented an example of popular civic participation. Their successful outcome is a triumph for the Venezuelan people, especially considering the level of U.S. interference and attempted sabotage of the democratic process, particularly through sanctions and corrosive economic measures aimed at producing regime change in Venezuela, said Susan Adderley, the president of the NLG and the member of delegation. During the delegation's visit to polling sites, members spoke freely with voters, including supporters of both the government and the opposition. We found that voters across the board expressed strong confidence in the electoral system, did not note any problems or hindrances to casting their ballots, which is a major issue in the U.S. because every single solitary election, there's always some kind of issue, either long lines or machines aren't working, or they're handed out provisional ballots and then those provisional ballots don't get counted. So there's always some sort of drama, or polling stations closed for no reason. So we always have some sort of drama heading into election day. Meanwhile, in Venezuela, this seems to be not to be an issue at all. In America, we should probably, take some notes from Venezuela, but of course we won't because they're the goddamn socialists. The electoral system is highly transparent and well facilitated, overseen by the Consejo Nacional Electoral, or the Council on National Elections in English, the fifth branch of the Venezuelan government, which manages the electoral process. The voting system in Venezuela is dubbed the best in the world by former U.S. President Jimmy Carter. So yeah, even former President Jimmy Carter is like, yeah, this electoral system is like the best in the world, bar none, like by far. So let's keep going here. Oops. I lost track. Sorry about that. Oh, ensures both access to polls and clear identification of voters, promoting a secure system that inspires confidence in the Venezuelan public. Notably, Venezuelans can cast both an electronic and a printed paper ballot in order to verify electoral totals. A check that is performed automatically at 54% of polling locations chosen at random. The machines and the electoral process function properly each of the polling sites visited by the delegation. The high level of security at the polls, combined with the commitment to accessibility for all Venezuelan citizens, the delegation observed people with disabilities, small children, and the elderly may access polling locations through fast track lines. For people with special needs who require physical assistance to cast their votes, there's also a system called assisted voting that allows voters either bring a family member or the president of the voting station into the voting booth to assist with the process. And the delegation witnessed 2 examples of assisted voting throughout the day. Any difficulties we witnessed at the polls were normal and routine in the electoral systems. At the majority of polling sites we visited, wait times were relatively low, under 5 minutes throughout the day, although there were surges in turnout that led to longer waits at times. Those with special needs were accommodated through a fast-track line. Longer and shorter wait times at polls took place across neighborhoods, and when there were longer lines, the delegation did not witness any participant that decided not to vote due to waits, which is a common thing here in the United States. I mean, we are in some states the wait to vote is hours, not just minutes, but hours. The delegation underlined its absolute rejection of claim of fraud being promulgated by U.S.-backed opposition right-wing forces in the region, including the Lima Group, U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and Western media. The delegation produced a brief and thorough report, which is at this website here, on expanding electoral process, as well as attempts to interfere by the opposition, the United States government, and Western media. It is imperative that we act in solidarity to protect democracy and the sovereignty of this Caribbean nation, reject U.S. imperialist intervention in Venezuela, and called for the end of U.S. sanctions and blockades. The National Lawyers Guild carefully monitored Venezuelan elections in 2021, 2015, 2013, and co-organized a fact-finding trip in 2023 to monitor the effects of sanctions in the country. The National Lawyers Guild's membership includes lawyers, legal workers, jailhouse lawyers, and law students. It was formed in 1937 as the United States' first racially integrated bar association to advocate protection of constitutional rights. So, yeah, that was the whole statement. Jesus Christ. I mean, I feel like I just read my ass off there. So yeah, that was the press statement from the National Lawyers Guild calling out U.S. bullshit and propaganda and all that nonsense. So glad somebody's calling it out, because this is just beyond absurd. So let's see here. So as we can all see, so let's go to this clip here real quick. Let's watch this. Why is the U.S. obsessed with Venezuela?
Concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people.
Maria Corina Machado, gracias. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you, and we'll stay.
So she's the opposition leader. She's hold on, Maria Corina Machado. She's the opposition leader that has been, like, she's a puppet of the United States and has been for decades, even going back to 2005 during the Bush administration. I mean, she was there basically begging for coups and try to install her into power, and she's been there for like the entire time that the socialists have run Venezuela. So yeah, she's been trying to oppose them. I think now she lives in Florida. She doesn't even live in Venezuela anymore. She lives in Florida.
Maria Corina Machado, gracias. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you, and we'll stay in touch. And I promise one day we'll have a close relationship between Venezuela and Israel.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. That's now her new play, trying to appeal to Israel, because Nicolas Maduro, basically is calling for a free Palestine, which is unacceptable to the Zionists in Israel. So now that's her new play. Oh yeah, if you put us in power, we're gonna have a great relationship with the Israelis. Trust us. We're gonna do whatever you ask us to do.
And I believe, and I can announce this, that our government will move our Israeli embassy to Jerusalem. That will be part of our support to the state of Israel.
Wow, in God's will. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Palestina, presidente. Palestina.
Viva Palestina libre.
Viva Palestina libre. So long live a free Palestine. This is why they're ultimately, the U.S. is really angry about this, and they're trying everything they can to overthrow the Maduro government here. So, if you guys haven't already, please give me a like. Please subscribe to the channels. Greatly appreciate it. It helps. Please like my Kick channel, because I just started that. I've been streaming there for a few weeks, and I don't have any followers there yet. So I'm just shooting, more shameless plugs there for you guys. Make sure you follow me on X as well, Angel J Rivera 08. If you haven't already, just click that follow button. Although Edison's research exit poll has been widely cited by U.S. media to cast doubt over Venezuela's electoral results, it is by no means an impartial observer. In fact, Edison's top clients include CIA-linked U.S. government propaganda outlets, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and the Middle East Broadcasting Networks, all of which are operated by U.S. Agency for Global Media, a Washington-based organ that is used to spread disinformation against U.S. adversaries. Edison researchers likewise work with UK state media outlet the BBC. Oops. In addition to Venezuela, Edison has recently conducted a suspicious polling in Ukraine, Georgia, and Iraq. Not Georgia the state, Georgia the country that is south of Russia. Areas of the world that had been deemed highly strategic by U.S. State Department and targeted by Washington's relentless meddling. Edison's international research is managed by the company's executive vice president, Rob Farman. He is also cited in the press release, on the Venezuela exit poll, which was listed as the contact for the study. This is this dude here. Just doing the bidding of the U.S. government gladly. Let's see. The U.S. state media outlets are a key part of the New York Times described in 1977 as a worldwide propaganda network built by the CIA. The Times identified Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty, as well as Radio Free Asia and Radio Free Cuba Radio as CIA broadcasting ventures. So this is part of the article there. One of the CIA's first major ventures was broadcasting. Although long suspected, it was reported definitely only a few years ago that until 1971, the agency supported both Free Radio Europe, which continues with private financing to broadcast to the nations of Eastern Europe, and Radio Liberty, which is beamed at the Soviet Union itself. The CIA's participation in these operations were shielded from the public view by two front groups, the Free Europe Committee and the American Committee for Liberation, both of which are also engaged in a variety of lesser-known propaganda operations. The American Committee for Liberation financed a Munich-based group, the Institute for the Study of USSR, a publishing and research house that, among other things, complies with the widely used reference value Who is in the USSR. The Free Europe Committee published a magazine, East Europe, distributed in this country as well as abroad, and also operated Free Europe Press Service. Far more obscure were two other CIA broadcasting ventures, Radio Free Asia, and a rather tenuous operation known as Free Cuba Radio. Free Cuba Radio, established in the early 60s, did not